as well do what I want, because it's not doing what I want. I want my game to work super awesome, but my computer's getting old because that's what computers do. And I work this thing really hard. I should recommend it at some point. It's just a simple thing to game on. It's actually going to be one of those things. I'm going to get a new computer, and that I could separate functions, because now this tablet works very well for my purposes, and I probably underuse it. So, Jacob and Esau is the story that is a great example for something called exogamous breeding. Now, key to this is again, Robert Briefolt's book, The Mothers. He points out that this is extremely normal for humans at a certain stage of development, that they and so what stage are we talking about? There is trade using silver already established. A place like Babylon exists, so there are cities, but they're very, very, very spread out. And most people in this area of the Mediterranean at that time are living pastoral lives, so pastoral culture exists. And from there, you could just start walking through if these things are described, because as oddly enough, and now he likely he borrowed the phrase, but I have to credit Davis Arini for bringing up that the Bible is supposed to be descriptive, not prescriptive. So it's not telling you to live as a shepherd or as a carpenter or a fisherman. It's saying that that this is what this person did. This is in these days, this is how they were living. All right, I think this is working correctly now. Let's see. Sorry, I was just having a little trouble with. Okay, so so it wasn't getting any of my inputs. Okay, there we go. Yeah, it just didn't boot the game. It just didn't boot up the game correctly. That happens. That's the way that, super mega high technology can't handle the power of EVE Online. So, Jacob has to go out, and there's the events of the family, but it's just describing like what he had to go out, and he ends up finding is the woman he wants to marry, but to pull this off requires him working fundamentally 14 years to first get a wife that he didn't want, and then later the wife he did want. But he ends up, so again, also this is descriptive. In the old days, they had many wives. So remember, Christianity starts, and once you read the Constitution of the Apostles, and there's other writing that's frowned upon. That becomes more and more and more frowned upon, and so it's really the idea of, and so this very unique form of reproduction that common people or rich people, it's one man, one woman, like Adam and Eve. So this establishment of the new Adam. And so people know, like, yes, there is that in Christian theology, and then there's people who would be like, wait, you mean like in the Kabbalah? So that's, yeah, but so I believe the Kabbalists borrow off of the Christian tradition. That's my belief, because there's people who want to be like, Jesus was rocking hella Kabbalah, and it's like, which didn't quite exist at the time. There would be things people would do that would be kind of a speculative form of, like, gematria or something like that, and notaricon and things like that. But and I don't even think notaricon, but I think gematria. And so that, yeah. So what you end up getting is these descriptions of how he ends up being this very, very good breeder of animals. He's very crafty, and how he makes sure to get a lot for his. So remember, he would be this guy working for this family that has, they describe that there's many brothers. So there's a bunch of men who they already have flocks they're inheriting, but they're also working too. So you're trying to make sure your flocks get so you have to get yours. And there's these guys who are there getting theirs. Now you all work together because you're all in the same family. But the thing is he's of a group of people that they're them. He's not one of them really. And so it's interesting how he ends up trying to leave with now his 2 wives and all his stuff and go back to his people. And what do they try to do? They try to stop him. Why? Because the matrilineal line owns the daughters and owns the offspring. That's the old way people were. One of the key things about Jacob is he cheats. Yakov, he cheats. That's the whole issue with that character. This extremely clever guy who figures out how to fundamentally kind of cheat everybody except for God when he has to wrestle God and is injured. I'm not very good at all this. I know very little. I'm not very biblically literate. This was an example that was given by Briefold, was the story of Jacob, describing exogamous reproduction. So no longer is there the kind of reproduction that we really associate with the motherhood, and that is slightly inbred. Sorry, that's the way it was, because motherhoods can't compete against societies that start fundamentally understanding a technological level high enough that what they do is they force these motherhoods inland or into areas that are hard to access. So these people are protected by natural boundaries in some way. So that's what motherhoods have to, like any, or matriarchy, motherhood kind of cultures. What they have to do is adapt the motherhood, because the motherhood is natural. This is the great thing that Briefold brings up. And now we have more and more genetic information that really kind of starts weaving into this, that it's like, it makes sense, because otherwise humans would simply just not do things that we associate with humans. They would just stay places and never go. They wouldn't talk to anybody. They would just kind of attack outsiders on sight forever. But for some reason, while humans do that, and motherhood and matriarchies are notorious for just literally tearing other people for limb from limb and drinking their blood, it's which, if you think about feminist art and how much they embrace the grotesque, and so this is and how when you move leftward in art, you get more and more of these images of demonic shit and drinking of blood and things like that, and also symbology associated with those. I have taken you out of these lands, you will no longer practice their ways. So these magical ways of the lands that were they did their way, not Yahweh. Yes, I finally used it. And so what this descends into the Christian tradition, such we get this very unique form of reproduction that people don't really get. Like the era of motherhoods, you wouldn't have owned things. You like, and so what this also demonstrates. This is why this is kind of interesting as descriptive rather than prescriptive. Give me a second. I just want to see local. Who's in local? Who is in local? Green and purple. Yes, green and purple. You guys know EVE Online, when you see nothing but blue, green, and purple, that's what you're looking for. Everything's okay. Oh, no, that's the wrong one. Oh, no. Oh, no. Who's this? Megadeth. This person's name is Megadeth. Damn it. What are you up to? What are you up to? Okay. You don't look... Let's see. All right. I'm going to have to check something out. So, a lot of what people are seeing with, okay, why are liberal women like that? Why do you end up with the black women siding with the white liberal women, such that it's literally like there's this bizarre thing that you'll watch from afar as you watch these two groups argue about who created this really bad idea. It was our idea first. We were like blah blah blah, and you're sitting there going, well, wasn't it that white author who has a Hispanic last name, but probably, I mean, she obviously didn't ever look really very Hispanic. I mean, or something. Whatever. Or something. Didn't that woman who's obviously Ashkenazi Jewish descent write that book? And now you're borrowing that phrase and you're saying you invented it. So we really enjoy watching like the feminists and lefties like kind of be nut jobs about so much. So one of the things that these people aren't, or Edward Dutton has pointed out some stuff, and so I was really crunching a lot of this. What it is that I've got this theory that it has to do with mitochondrial DNA is the maternal DNA, if I'm remembering correctly, and that maternal DNA that they see much makes it much. Or is it? Is it the maternal DNA? Because I started thinking about this, that there's somewhat that it would seem as if what the idea here is that you would end up having this group of mothers that after a period of time they've simply had too many of the men and the women too closely related, breeding with one another, such that there constantly is this method by which they're doing exogamous things. So they're chucking out these characters, and these characters like he cheats or the heel cheat. Clever little character upset things in the camp. Mama kept looking out for him, and so he escapes, and he's not hurting anybody. Supposedly, he's not bothering anybody. And but he finds a wife, and he finds his wife, and after 14 years, he comes back and he brings flocks and 2 wives and servants and all kinds of stuff that he's gotten. By this time now, he is a person because he has stuff. It's not just he's a man who's mated with another woman. Now he's actually a person with things. He could show up someplace and be like, I could share, I could do this, I know how to do this, I have servants who could do this. So this in the olden days would have been a pretty big deal at that point. He's a clever character. His lineage is going to live on, is the idea. And that's very important. So you have this exogamous thing. Note, so where would you find this opportunity to have the princess of a clan, the top clan of the clans in this neighboring group, and you have access to her, you have a chance, and you are of this different group. So it ends up being this thing of, okay, so where are these men stepping out of Black America? They're stepping out of Black America when they have this opportunity at colleges. And so when you're somebody like me, who I get to see men of inordinately tall, muscular. I mean, this is I see the normal students, the average guy, and I get to see then, literally or figuratively, Tyrone, and with a absolutely beautiful, petite, catch blonde, just, I mean, that you're like, right on Tyrone. Right on Tyrone. So small he could curl her. So, what about all these African students? What about all these black women? Well, what about them? What about them? I actually see all the time people who are obviously of African descent, that there would be couples. So there's something going on here with getting lots of people from Africa to come here, I guess, for the college. But that's the thing, then, that's the problem. It's description, not prescription. Society isn't using its white powers. You bred these men so they would be talented and could sell their talents to the neighboring clan for their daughters. And you've accomplished that goal, Black American women. Ooh. Let's see what the goods are. Oh no. There's nothing here, just an orca or a mackinaw. But you fooled me. This is no good. What's going on here? Where's the rocks? I want the rocks. Damn. There's nobody mining shit, I bet. Okay. I'm gonna have to dock up. This didn't work out correctly. Not at all. Alright. So, I should have done my homework, and then I wouldn't waste that time. With white liberal women who are constantly sort of like, oh my gosh, my group, we're terrible, oh, the world's ending. Let me wrap something around my face because of the diseases. It's all science. I'm so smart, you all don't understand. I hope everybody's been looking at Revolver News and Zero Hedge over the last couple of days, because holy crap, the stuff that's come out. Like, I posted one of them in my posts to YouTube if it didn't get yeeted, because I never know. But they were just, look, all these articles say this, so we should do this. Literally, that's where a lot of policy came from. These people typed this in these media outlets, so the public should do this. Unbelievable. But anyway, why would people so easily fall for this over and over again? Why would they keep falling for things like the Arctic is melting all the time when you could go to Cryosphere 2's feed and you could see exactly the depth of ice, even at the height of summer? And they're like, no, but I saw a photo somewhere that a typist posted. Look, the ice, it's melting. And it's like, well, it's the height of summer. I mean, at some point, some ice will melt somewhere, and you can get a photo of it. But you see, it's science. This is a science writer. They took a science photo. you just don't understand the level of science. And so why would there be people like this? And then also, why is there just the likelihood that they're fond for people outside of their in-group? Well, these are the women bred for this. And so what's interesting is, so you'll find that what it is that somehow Europeans are bred like kind of this group, this conservative core of women that they're pretty much going to stay with their in-group, not really, they kind of are, they tend to be open-minded because of literally a bred-for trait, about things that they see that are exotic, but it's just, it just doesn't capture their interest for very long, because they're really concerned about the concerns of life. And so these people tend to just be conservative or to the right, because conservative is more of lifestyle, not a whole lot social beliefs. It's been changing thanks to the left. I've really been enjoying that. It's been changing. Thank you, leftists. You are making people who are conservative more right-leaning, so they're becoming social conservatives on top of becoming fiscal, economic conservatives. And so you get these kind of white liberal chicks that you're like, so what explains a lot of this? Well, Edward Dutton has gotten into a lot of it, but something that I've been thinking about is, I'm like, there's these core people in both black women and white women that they're fundamentally trying to preserve this rare maternal DNA string and trying to make sure it passes on relatively intact. And it's because of the way that a lot of people have gotten into the nature of that, what reproduction is really about, that every part wants to reproduce itself. The body actually makes stuff stop reproducing. And so it's because it's designed to keep, the machine is designed in one way to keep going, and there's things that the body does to actually, no, okay, no, you're fine, we don't need more lung, we don't need, yeah, and so this DNA wants to keep fundamentally intact and keep reproducing. Men will have on the Y chromosome more fundamentally what we kind of consider genetic errata, if I remember correctly. Men will have more errata, like just odd genetic information that doesn't seem to be about shit. Where women seem to have fundamentally a bit more stable genetics. And so it's interesting, then you'll find black women only interested in black men. And then also the thing is, though, is with the data that we get about who picks who in the dating market, very few black women end up really ever getting with somebody who, like marriage and children, with somebody outside of the racial group. That's actually rather rare in the United States. That it's the sexual market. Very few people. I guess the idea is swipe right on black women. White men don't date and marry black women. Also, racial admixture. This is still, compared to all breeding patterns, it's still not that common in the United States. And the idea that it would in some way maintain over a number of generations or something. While we're seeing more and more mixed children, we're not seeing really some kind of hybridization of, where you're getting somebody who has like the brains of a Chinese person, the body of a giant Samoan man, the fury of African blood. Good hair from their Danish descent, you're not seeing kind of some kind of ubermensch and super soldier. You're seeing actually, in fact, kind of these people who find themselves exotic and not really knowing how they fit in or not. And so it's interesting to see people then become like Lauren Chen, as compared to what you're seeing in so many people on the left, where they're these mixed race people who end up being fucking leftist terrorists because they just have no idea where they fit in. They really aren't getting. They are, in many ways, quintessentially American. Even a lot of white people are mixed with Native American. Hence why the Ku Klux Klan allowed a bunch of different Native American groups of the 5 civilized tribes, quite specifically, into their fold, because so many people were mixed with them already because they were the 5 civilized tribes. Nobody's really confronting the low sexual market value of so many people on the left, and that a key to the gender sexual thing is being of low sexual market value. And then, of course, what Dutton's been arguing is the mutation of the brain, primarily, such the person's just kind of a nut job. And they don't fit in because really there's something quite wrong with them. The reason why this can't be discussed is because you would look to the maternal for this. Yeah, I mean, like if these were plants, if these were something that you were breeding for livestock, you would eventually have, oh well, who fathered? What did you father with the person? After so many children, you would actually have, after a certain number of offspring, you would get an idea. And so many times what this would be is, well, look to the maternal, because obviously there's something fucked up there. And that's the issue, that why matriarchy and the motherhood can never have any kind of real power. There would be women who would be forbidden from having children. They would just be forbidden from having children because they're all fucked up. We have the genetic, we could look at people's genetics now. You could stick a swab up your nose and send it off to a laboratory so that your genetics can be logged in a library someplace. I mean, the technology exists. Microsoft Genomics. And so a lot of people, you can't have that. You can't have the feminists, the women, modern women, you can't have the Bene Gesserit sisterhood. You couldn't handle that. Knowing that you would have to be like one of the servant people of the Bene Gesserit, that you wouldn't be like some highfalutin spy who got all the secrets. It's like, no, like you're like somebody's, placed as a housekeeper for a governor or something like that, some frumpy housekeeper. Yeah, you're a spy, but I mean, it's not quite the same thing. It's like, dear, you're a 5. You're a 4. So, a lot of why are the liberal women like that? Low sexual market value. Why do people ally themselves with what is fundamentally the liberal vote, or this kind of white female, black female vote of kind of the uglier end, that were unsuccessful in landing successful husbands and then being a part of something successful, so they know why you shouldn't just have kind of the nutty ideas of lefties governing the America. And then you see that these men in dresses, that overwhelmingly are kind of unattractive guys, like they're 5s on their best day, and that's also one of the sad parts about it is now they're an oppressed class. They're officially these ugly people that sex is unavailable to them, so they're all kinds of gender sexual. Judith Butler obviously was not really like some hot act ever. So that's why, of course, these people are going on the ridiculous, twisted, and demented ideas of Judith Butler. Yeah. So this was something I've just been chewing on. I've got to look that up about. I was trying to remember if mitochondrial DNA is paternal or maternal. If you'd put in the comments, because I know this has to go along with the cohanim diploid. That's where I learned this about. The cohanim diploid thing is fascinating. There's way more research on that too. But anyway, take care.